What if I told you that one of the most powerful tools for improving your health is probably already sitting in your kitchen, ignored, underestimated, and misunderstood? Not a supplement that costs hundreds of dollars, not a complicated protocol you'll quit in 3 days, just 2 small cloves a day. And no, what happens isn't what you think. Most people hear cloves and immediately think of mouth pain, bad breath, or some old folk remedy their grandmother talked about. Others assume it's some miracle cure or detox trick that sounds good but doesn't really do anything. And that's exactly why this matters, because the truth about cloves is far more practical, grounded, and empowering than either extreme. As a doctor, I'm not interested in magic pills. I'm interested in simple ancestral tools that support the body the way it was designed to function. Your body is not broken. It's overwhelmed, overloaded, inflamed, and often undernourished in the most basic ways. We keep looking for something new when sometimes the answer is something very old. Now, let me be clear right from the start. Eating 2 cloves a day for 7 days will not cure everything. It won't melt fat overnight. It won't fix years of poor lifestyle choices in a week. And if someone promised you that, they'd be lying to you. But what it can do is far more valuable. It can nudge your body back toward balance. It can reduce hidden stressors. It can wake up systems that have been running on low power for far too long. Think about how many people today are tired but wired, bloated but hungry, inflamed but numb to it. We normalize discomfort. We normalize fatigue. We normalize brain fog. And then we wonder why our motivation disappears, why our digestion struggles, why our immune system feels weak. Small daily stressors add up, and small daily supports can reverse that trend. 2 cloves a day isn't about cloves. It's about consistency. It's about reminding your body that it has support, that it doesn't have to fight every battle alone. When you give your body simple, natural inputs regularly, something remarkable happens. It starts doing what it was always meant to do. So before you roll your eyes or dismiss this as another internet trend, I want you to listen with curiosity, not hype, not fear, just curiosity. Because sometimes the smallest habits create the biggest shifts. And this one might surprise you. We live in a world that constantly pulls us away from basic health. Ultra-processed foods, chronic stress, poor sleep, and constant stimulation all place a heavy burden on the body. Over time, this burden shows up as inflammation, digestive problems, low energy, frequent infections, and a feeling that your body is working against you instead of for you. Cloves matter because they address several of these issues at the root, not by overpowering the body, but by supporting it. Cloves contain natural compounds like eugenol, which has been studied for its antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. That doesn't mean it acts like a drug. It means it helps reduce unnecessary internal stress so your immune system and digestion can function more efficiently. Many people today struggle with gut health without realizing it. Poor digestion doesn't always mean pain. It often shows up as bloating, cravings, fatigue after meals, or even skin issues. When digestion improves, everything improves. Nutrient absorption gets better, energy becomes more stable, inflammation goes down. What makes this important is not the clove itself. It's the reminder that simple, whole foods can still have a powerful impact when used consistently. You don't need extremes, you need alignment. When your daily habits support your biology instead of fighting it, health becomes easier, not harder. This is about reclaiming trust in your body, about choosing small actions that compound over time, and about realizing that wellness doesn't start in a pharmacy, it starts with daily choices. Most people think the problem is that they're missing some powerful supplement or secret superfood, but that's not the real issue. The real problem is that the modern lifestyle quietly creates stress inside the body every single day. And most people don't even realize it's happening. This stress doesn't always scream at you with pain or disease. More often, it whispers. It shows up as low energy in the afternoon, bloating that you brush off as normal, brain fog you blame on age, or a weak immune system that has you catching every little bug that goes around. Over time, these whispers add up and the body slowly moves further away from balance. Chronic low-grade inflammation is at the center of this problem. Unlike acute inflammation, which is part of healing, this type never really shuts off. It's fueled by processed foods, excess sugar, seed oils, poor sleep, emotional stress, and constant exposure to environmental toxins. The body is always fighting, always compensating, always trying to keep things together. That constant effort drains resources. Energy that should be used for repair, hormone balance, and immune defense gets diverted just to maintain baseline function. Digestion plays a massive role here, yet it's one of the most overlooked systems. When digestion is compromised even slightly, nutrients don't get absorbed efficiently. That means you can be eating what you think is a healthy diet and still be undernourished at a cellular level. Poor digestion can also allow harmful bacteria to thrive, producing toxins that further inflame the gut and spill into the bloodstream. This creates a cycle where inflammation feeds poor digestion, and poor digestion feeds more inflammation. What makes this especially dangerous is how normalized it has become. People assume feeling tired after meals is normal. They assume gas and bloating are just part of getting older. They assume needing constant caffeine is a personality trait rather than a warning sign. When these symptoms become routine, people stop listening to their bodies. They push through, they adapt, and adaptation, while impressive, is not the same as health. The immune system is another silent casualty of this process. A large portion of immune activity originates in the gut. When the gut is inflamed or imbalanced, immune responses become weaker or misdirected. That can mean getting sick more often, healing more slowly, or developing exaggerated inflammatory reactions. Again, this doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, quietly, over years. This is why the idea of adding something small and natural, like cloves, even matters in the first place. It's not because cloves are magical, it's because they represent a gentle interruption of a harmful pattern. They introduce compounds that help reduce microbial overload and oxidative stress without shocking the system. When the body senses even a small reduction in internal stress, it responds by reallocating energy toward repair. The tragedy is that many people keep searching for dramatic solutions while ignoring the simple reality that their bodies are overloaded, not broken. The problem isn't a lack of effort or discipline, it's that the inputs no longer match human biology. When you identify the problem correctly, not as a single deficiency, but as accumulated stress, you stop chasing extremes. You start looking for small, consistent supports that restore balance. And that shift in understanding is where real healing begins. When this underlying imbalance continues unchecked, it begins to shape everyday life in ways people rarely connect back to their health. The body becomes less resilient, meaning it takes more effort to get through the same tasks that once felt easy. You wake up tired even after a full night in bed. Your mood feels flatter, your patience shorter, and your motivation harder to access. These aren't character flaws, they're biological signals that the system is under strain. One of the first places this shows up is energy regulation. When inflammation and digestive stress are present, blood sugar becomes less stable. That leads to cycles of spikes and crashes, feeling okay for a short time, then suddenly drained or irritable. Many people respond by reaching for caffeine or sugar, which temporarily masks the problem while deepening it long term. Over years, this pattern can exhaust the adrenal system and disrupt normal hormonal rhythms, making fatigue feel permanent rather than situational. Cognitive function is another quiet casualty. Brain fog, poor focus, and memory lapses are often dismissed as stress or aging, but inflammation plays a direct role. Inflammatory signals in the body can cross into the brain, interfering with neurotransmitter balance and mental clarity. When the brain is constantly receiving distress signals from the gut and immune system, it shifts into a protective mode. Creativity drops, decision-making feels heavier, even simple tasks require more effort than they should. Digestive discomfort may seem minor, but its long-term impact is significant. Chronic bloating, reflux, constipation, or irregular stools are signs that the gut environment is out of balance. Over time, T affects nutrient absorption, particularly minerals and fat-soluble vitamins that are essential for hormone production, bone health, and immune resilience. A body that isn't absorbing nutrients efficiently begins to break down faster, even if calorie intake is adequate. The immune system also becomes less precise. Instead of responding strongly when needed and resting when not, it stays mildly activated all the time. This increases susceptibility to infections and slows recovery. Cuts heal more slowly. Illness lingers. In some cases, the immune system becomes confused and starts reacting to harmless triggers, contributing to allergies or autoimmune patterns. This constant background activation accelerates wear and tear on tissues throughout the body. Over the long term, this environment sets the stage for more serious conditions. Chronic inflammation is linked to cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, joint degeneration, and accelerated aging. Blood vessels become less flexible, insulin signaling becomes less efficient, joints lose their cushioning, skin loses its ability to repair and regenerate. None of this happens suddenly. It's the result of thousands of days of small imbalances left unaddressed. Perhaps the most damaging effect is psychological. When people feel unwell for long periods, they begin to lower their expectations of themselves. They stop imagining a stronger, clearer, more energetic version of their life. They accept survival as success. This quiet resignation is not a failure of willpower. It's the natural response to a body that feels unreliable. Understanding how these issues impact both daily function and long-term health is empowering because it reframes the situation. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're responding appropriately to an internal environment that needs support. And when that environment begins to improve, even lightly, the body often responds with remarkable speed and gratitude. When we talk about simple, natural solutions, the goal is not to overwhelm the body or force it in a particular direction, but to support it in doing what it already knows how to do. The human body evolved alongside real, whole foods that contain protective compounds, not synthetic chemicals designed to override symptoms. Cloves fall into this category not as a cure, but as a tool that gently reduces internal stress so normal physiology can reassert itself. Cloves contain naturally occurring compounds, most notably eugenol, that have been shown to help manage oxidative stress and limit the growth of certain harmful microbes. In a modern diet filled with sugar and refined carbohydrates, the gut environment can shift in favor of bacteria and fungi that don't serve us well. This imbalance increases gas production, bloating, and the release of inflammatory byproducts. Introducing cloves helps create a less hospitable environment for these organisms without wiping out beneficial bacteria the way aggressive antimicrobials can. What makes this approach powerful is its subtlety. Instead of attacking a problem aggressively, which often leads to rebound effects, cloves nudge the system back toward balance. The body responds best to these gentle signals. When microbial load decreases even slightly, digestion improves. When digestion improves, nutrient absorption improves. And when nutrient absorption improves, energy, mood, and immune function follow naturally. Using cloves is also a reminder to slow down and be intentional. Chewing them rather than swallowing pills engages the nervous system. Saliva production increases, which is the first step in digestion. This simple act tells the body that food is coming and that it's safe to switch from a stress state into a digestive state. That alone can improve how meals are processed, especially for people who eat quickly or under pressure. The solution works best when it's simple. 2 whole cloves a day is enough. They can be chewed after a meal, crushed and added to warm water, or incorporated into food. There's no need to increase the dose or extend the duration unnecessarily. More is not better. The body values consistency far more than intensity. 7 days is often enough for people to notice changes in digestion, breath freshness, or a subtle improvement in how they feel after meals. It's important to understand that this isn't about isolating cloves as a miracle ingredient. It's about choosing natural inputs that align with human biology. When combined with reducing sugar, drinking enough water, and eating real foods, small supports like this become more effective. Cloves don't work in isolation. They work as part of a pattern that reduces overall inflammatory load. Another benefit of natural solutions like this is that they empower people. Instead of outsourcing health to medications or expensive protocols, individuals begin to reconnect with their own agency. They observe their bodies. They notice cause and effect. This awareness is critical for long-term health because it restores trust between the person and their physiology. Most importantly, simple solutions are sustainable. They don't rely on motivation spikes or perfect circumstances. They fit into real life. When something is easy to do, it's more likely to be done consistently, and consistency is what creates change. The body responds to repeated signals, not one-time efforts. In the end, natural solutions like using cloves are not about doing more. They're about removing obstacles and offering quiet support. When the body senses that stress is decreasing and resources are available, it shifts naturally toward repair. That's not wishful thinking. That biology working as it was designed to. The real power of any health practice comes from how easily it fits into daily life. And this is where practical application matters more than theory. If something is complicated, uncomfortable, or disruptive, it won't last. That's why the way you use cloves is just as important as why you use them. This is meant to be simple, calm, and supportive, not another task that adds stress to your day. Start with timing. The easiest and most effective time for most people is after a meal, especially breakfast or lunch. Taking cloves on an empty stomach can feel too strong for some, so pairing them with food makes the experience gentler and more sustainable. Chew 2 whole cloves slowly, allowing them to mix with saliva before swallowing. The taste is strong, yes, but that intensity is part of the process. It stimulates digestion and signals the nervous system to engage properly with the food you've eaten. If chewing isn't comfortable, there are other options. You can crush the cloves lightly with the back of a spoon and add them to warm water, letting them steep for a few minutes before drinking. Warm, not hot, is important because excessive heat can degrade some of the beneficial compounds. This method is especially helpful for people with sensitive teeth or jaws, and it still delivers the same gentle support to the digestive system. Pay attention to hydration. Drinking enough water throughout the day helps the body process and eliminate byproducts released as digestion improves. When people add something supportive like cloves but stay dehydrated, they may miss some of the benefits. A simple rule is to drink water consistently, not all at once, and to notice how your body responds rather than forcing a specific amount. Observation is key. This is not a blind ritual. Over the 7 days, notice subtle changes. You may experience less bloating after meals, fresher breath, more regular digestion, or a calmer feeling in your stomach. Some people notice improved energy or fewer cravings, while others simply feel more settled internally. These signals matter. They help you learn how your body responds to small changes. It's also important to avoid stacking too many new habits at once. If you suddenly add cloves, supplements, fasting, intense workouts, and dietary changes all together, you won't know what's helping and what's not. Simplicity allows clarity. Keep everything else the same for those 7 days and let this one change stand out. Consistency matters more than perfection. If you miss a day, don't compensate by doubling the dose the next day. Just return to the habit. The body doesn't respond well to extremes, but it responds beautifully to regular, gentle input. Think of this as a conversation with your physiology, not a command. You can also pair this habit with mindful eating. Sit down when you eat, chew your food, avoid screens when possible. These small behaviors amplify the benefits because they shift the nervous system out of stress mode and into digestion mode. When the body feels safe, it digests better. When it digests better, inflammation decreases. Finally, remember that this is a test, not a lifetime commitment. 7 days gives you information. If you feel better, you've learned something useful about what your body responds to. If you don't notice a difference, that's also valuable data. Health is personal. What matters is that you're paying attention and making choices based on experience, not hype. That mindset alone puts you far ahead of where most people start. Lasting health never comes from one-time actions or short bursts of motivation. It comes from habits that are small enough to repeat, gentle enough to maintain, and meaningful enough to matter. This is where consistency becomes more powerful than intensity. The body is not impressed by occasional extremes, but it responds deeply to patterns it can rely on. When you give it steady signals of safety and support, it shifts gradually but reliably toward balance. Most people underestimate how much daily habits shape their internal environment. Every meal, every night of sleep, every stressful interaction sends information to the body. Over time, these signals tell it whether it should be in survival mode or repair mode. Consistent, healthy habits tilt that message in the right direction. Something as simple as taking 2 cloves daily becomes part of a broader rhythm that tells the body you're supported. You don't have to stay on high alert. Pairing this habit with real food is essential. Highly processed foods create inflammation and disrupt gut bacteria, undoing the benefits of small natural supports. When you choose whole foods, meat, eggs, vegetables, fruits, and natural fats, you reduce the background noise that keeps the body stressed. Cloves work best in an environment where sugar intake is reduced and meals are nutrient dense. This doesn't require perfection. It requires direction. Sleep is another cornerstone of consistency. No natural habit can compensate for chronic sleep deprivation. Deep sleep is when the body repairs tissues, regulates hormones, and recalibrates the immune system. When sleep improves, digestion improves. When digestion improves, energy improves. Simple evening routines, dim lights, avoid late meals, limit screens, amplify the effects of every healthy habit you practice during the day. Movement also plays a role, but it doesn't need to be extreme. Regular walking, gentle strength training, or stretching improves blood flow and supports digestion. Movement helps clear inflammatory byproducts and improves insulin sensitivity. When done consistently, it makes the body more responsive to nutritional inputs. The goal isn't exhaustion, it's circulation and resilience. Stress management is often overlooked because it feels abstract, but it may be the most important habit of all. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated, which disrupts digestion and weakens immune function. Small daily practices, deep breathing, short walks, time in sunlight, moments of stillness send powerful calming signals to the nervous system. When stress decreases, the body becomes more receptive to simple supports like cloves. What makes consistent habits so effective is that they compound. Each one lowers the baseline level of internal stress just a little. Over weeks and months, those small reductions add up to noticeable improvements in energy, clarity, and resilience. People often describe this as feeling more like themselves again. Not because they did something dramatic, but because they stopped working against their biology. Perhaps the most important aspect of consistency is trust. When you show up for your body daily, even in small ways, you rebuild confidence in yourself. You stop viewing health as something fragile or elusive and start seeing it as something responsive. That mindset changes behavior naturally. You make better choices not out of fear, but out of respect. Healthy habits are not about restriction or punishment. They're about creating an environment where the body can thrive. When you focus on consistency, you remove pressure and allow progress to unfold at a human pace, and that is what makes results last. At the heart of all of this is a simple but often forgotten truth. Your body is always listening. Every choice you make sends a signal, and over time, those signals shape how you feel, how you heal, and how you age. The motivational takeaway is not about clothes, days, or numbers. It's about recognizing your power to influence your health through small, respectful actions taken consistently. Many people feel stuck because they believe change requires massive effort or perfect discipline. That belief alone keeps them frozen. When health feels complicated, it becomes intimidating, and when it becomes intimidating, it gets postponed. The moment you realize that meaningful change can begin with something as small as a daily habit, the pressure lifts. You no longer need to fix everything at once. You just need to take the next supportive step. What makes this approach motivating is that it shifts the focus from outcomes to process. Instead of obsessing over weight, lab numbers, or diagnoses, you start paying attention to how you feel. Do you wake up with a bit more clarity? Does your digestion feel calmer? Do you have steadier energy throughout the day? These early signals are incredibly motivating because they're immediate and personal. They remind you that your body responds quickly when given the right conditions. There's also a deeper psychological shift that happens when you choose habits that are gentle rather than extreme. You stop punishing yourself for past choices and start partnering with your body instead. This partnership builds momentum. When people feel supported rather than criticized, especially by themselves, they naturally make better decisions. Self-respect becomes the driver of change, not fear or shame. Another powerful takeaway is patience. Real healing is not linear. There will be days when you feel great and days when you don't notice much at all. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. Biological systems take time to recalibrate. When you understand this, you stop quitting too early. You give your body the time it needs to respond. This patience is not passive. It's informed and confident. Consistency also teaches resilience. Life will never be perfectly calm or controlled. Stressful days, missed habits, and unexpected challenges are inevitable. The goal is not perfection, but return. Every time you come back to a supportive habit after disruption, you reinforce a powerful message. You don't give up on yourself. That message matters more than any single action. Perhaps the most inspiring realization is that health is not something you chase. It's something you allow. When you remove obstacles and provide gentle support, the body moves toward balance on its own. You don't have to RCE it. You don't have to micromanage every detail. You simply have to create conditions that make healing possible. So the real takeaway is this: Start where you are with what you have and do it with intention. Let small habits remind you that your body is capable, responsive, and worthy of care. When you operate from that mindset, health stops being a struggle and starts becoming a natural outcome of how you live. Start small. Stay consistent. Respect your body. 2 cloves, 7 days. One powerful reminder: your health is built daily, not magically.